One day, a young man with a sorrowful face and tears streaming down his cheeks came to the Buddha. The Buddha gently asked, "What is troubling you that makes you cry?" The young man sobbed and replied, "Master, my father passed away yesterday." The Buddha calmly said, "Then what can you do? He has already passed away. Crying will not bring him back to life." The young man nodded, his voice filled with grief. "Yes, Master, I understand that crying will not bring my father back. But I have come here to ask you for one thing. Please do something for my late father." The Buddha kindly asked, "What can I do to help your father?" The young man pleaded earnestly, "Master, please do something. You are an arahant, a fully enlightened one, an omnipotent being. You must be able to do something. Look, the Brahmins perform rituals, they grant absolution papers, and they conduct ceremonies to help the deceased. They say that if the rituals are performed early, the gates of heaven will open sooner, and the deceased will ascend there. They will receive an entry permit. Master, you are all-powerful. If you conduct a ritual for my father, he will not only gain entry into heaven but will also be allowed to stay there permanently. Please, Master, help my father." Seeing that the young man was overwhelmed with grief, the Buddha knew that reasoning alone might not help him understand. So, he decided to use a different approach. The Buddha gently said, "Go and buy 2 earthen pots." The young man, overjoyed, thinking that the Buddha had agreed to perform the ritual, rushed to the market and bought 2 earthen pots. When he returned, the Buddha instructed, "Fill 1 pot with pebbles and the other with butter." The young man followed the instructions. Then the Buddha continued, "Seal both pots and place them in the lake." The young man did as he was told, and both pots immediately sank to the bottom. The Buddha then said, "Now take a stick and break both pots." The young man eagerly followed, believing this was part of the ritual. As soon as the pots broke, the butter from the second pot spread across the surface of the water, while the pebbles from the first pot remained at the bottom. At this moment, the Buddha slowly said, "Young man, this is what I have done. Now, call the ritual priests and ask them to chant prayers, O pebbles. Rise up, O butter, sink down, let us see what happens." The young man was startled and exclaimed, "Master, you must be joking. That is impossible. The pebbles are heavier than water. They will stay at the bottom and can never float up. That is the law of nature. And butter is lighter than water. It will always float and can never sink. That too is the law of nature." The Buddha smiled gently and explained, "You understand the laws of nature in the physical world, but you do not yet understand the natural law of karma. If, throughout your father's life, he created heavy karma like those pebbles, he will sink into suffering, and no one can lift him up. But if he lived a virtuous life, light like butter, he will naturally rise to a higher state. No one can push him down." Upon hearing this, the young man suddenly awakened, realizing that no one could change the fate of the deceased except for the karma they had created while alive. The Buddha concluded, "If we understand this natural law and live in harmony with it, we can free ourselves from suffering and misfortune in life." The young man bowed to the Buddha, his heart filled with enlightenment. The meaning of the story. This story conveys a profound lesson about karma and the natural law of cause and effect. Through the metaphor of the pot filled with butter and the pot filled with pebbles, the Buddha teaches important truths. Karma determines one's destiny. Once a person has passed away, no prayers or rituals can change the karma they accumulated in their lifetime. If they lived virtuously, their soul, like butter, will naturally ascend. If they created heavy, negative karma, like pebbles, they will sink into suffering. No one can alter the law of cause and effect. Just as butter floats and pebbles sink by nature, human beings cannot alter the consequences of their actions through rituals or prayers. What each person experiences after death depends solely on their actions while alive. Live righteously now. We should not rely on rituals or expect someone else to help us after death. Instead, we should live virtuously, do good deeds, and avoid creating negative karma. This is the true path to happiness and liberation. Awakening from superstition. The young man believed that funeral rituals could help his father reach heaven. But the Buddha showed him that this was a mistaken belief. Instead of relying on ceremonies, people should understand the law of karma and live according to moral principles. This story reminds us that our fate is shaped by our own actions. Only by cultivating goodness in the present can we ensure a bright future.